Hello, dear students. Good morning. Hope you are all enjoying very well your Corona vacations and learning. Today I am going to discuss briefly very important of the three helminths cestodes, that is the tapeworms. Cestodes, as you know, are also known as tapeworms, in contrast to other helminths, that is the roundworms and the leafworms. These are the few pictures of the tapeworms. Now, the general characteristics of the tapeworms: majority are long segmented and tape-like and are called tapeworms. They are dorso-ventrally flattened. Their size varies from a few millimeters to several meters. Diphyllobothrium latum, the largest being 10 meters. Adult worms are found in the intestinal canal of the man and animals. Head or scolex is provided with suckers and sometimes with hooks that serve as organ of attachment. There are three regions in an adult worm: head, neck, and strabila. Head is also known as scolex. The strobila or body or trunk consists of a series of segments called proglottids. General characters continued. Sexes are not separate, that is, they are monoecious, not dioecious. Body cavity is absent and alimentary canal is entirely absent. These two facts, especially the absence of alimentary canal, can be correlated with their obligate parasitism in the intestine, because they don't have intestine, alimentary canal. They tend to live in a host where they get abundant nutrients from where they can absorb through the body surface. Excretory and nervous system are present. Reproductive system is present and complete in each segment. According to maturity of reproductive organs, three types of the segment of the strobila can be recognized from the backward. Number one, from the neck onward, immature ones, where the male and female organs are not differentiated. Two, mature, where male and female organs have become differentiated and the male organs appear first. Then the third, the gravid segments, where uteri are filled with eggs, other organs have atrophied or disappeared. Classification of cestodes infecting man. There are two broad categories of the cestodes: Pseudophyllidean cestodes and Cyclophyllidean cestodes. Pseudophyllidean cestodes, they possess false or slit-like groups called bothria. Adult worm in intestine, example, Diphyllobothrium latum, or also known as fish tapeworm. Then the larval stages of Pseudophyllidean, that is plerocercoid, they are found in the man, are of Sparganum mansoni and Sparganum proliferum. Classification continued. The Cyclophyllidean cestodes, they possess cup-like round sucker called acetabula, and their adult worm live in the intestine. Adult worms of Taenia saginata, Taenia solium, Hymenolepis nana, Hymenolepis diminuta, and Dipylidium caninum, they live in the human intestine. Classification continued. In some of the Cyclophyllidean cestode life cycle, the larval stages live in the man. Hydrated cyst, a very important clinical manifestation of the parasite, is of Echinococcus granulosus and Echinococcus multilocularis. Cysticercus cellulosa of Taenia solium. Conurus cerebralis of multiceps and Conurus glomeratus of multiceps glomeratus, they all live in man in larval stage. There are many differences between pseudophyllidean cestodes and cyclophyllidean cestodes. Not all I will call. Only thing to remember is that the head is containing bothria in pseudophyllidean, which is a two slit-like groove, which is working as a attachment organ, and the cyclophyllidean they have got the four cup-like suckers, and eggs are operculated in pseudophyllidean and not operculated in cyclophyllidean. So this much, if you remember, it will be good. Otherwise, there are very many differences between the two subclasses. Other characteristics of the pseudophyllidean cestodes. The Diphyllobothrium latum, the largest tapeworm or the fish tapeworm, it is also known as broad tapeworm. Broad because its proglottids are broad in comparison to other tapeworms. It is yellowish in color. The dark central marking in the strobila are due to egg-filled uterus. It may measure from 3 to 10 meters in length, and the lifespan varies from 5 to 15 years. This structure of the head you are seeing is a typical structure of the Diphyllobothrium latum. Scolex is spoon-shaped or spatulate because it bears two slit-like grooves called bothria, one on the dorsal surface and another on the ventral surface. No rostrum, no hooklets. Neck is thin and unsegmented and is much longer than the head. There are many details of the strobila, but you can just remember that it is containing the 3000 to 4000 segments. This is much more than any other tapeworm. You can see the characteristic dark marking in the center of the proglottid because of the egg-filled uterus. This is the photograph of the egg of the Diphyllobothrium latum. Large numbers pass in the human feces. It is not infective to men. Many details are there which to identify you should know about. Then the structure of the larvae, there are three larvae, first, second and third stage. First stage known as coracidium. It is ciliated oncosphere which develops from the egg in water. Then the second stage larva enters into the cyclops. It is known as procercoid. Then the third stage larva, it is found in the freshwater fish. It is known as plerocercoid. The life cycle of the D. latum, it is known as fish tapeworm because the infection from the fish meat or the fish muscle can happen to man by eating fish meat which is containing plerocercoid larva. Full life cycle of the Diphyllobothrium latum expressed in the sketch diagram. Let us recapitulate the main features of the life cycle. The final host of D. latum is man, dog, or cat, and it lives in the small intestine. There are two hosts. First is cyclops, and the second is freshwater fish, pike, trout, salmon, perch. The mode of infection is imperfectly cooked or uncooked raw meat of the fish containing plerocercoid larvae, and the diagnosis will rest upon the demonstration of the eggs in the feces or recovery of the parasite by in the feces accidentally or through the endoscopic examination. Then this order Cyclophyllidia, like Pseudophyllidia, there are details, the characters, but remember that the Cyclophyllidean head contains cup-like round suckers. Other details, other minor variations in there, and also important feature in it, the egg is different round corticated egg is there, characteristic structure. Among the Cyclophyllidia, Taenia saginata, Taenia solium, and Echinococcus granulosus, these three are very important. The Pseudophyllidean incidence is anyway less, much less than the incidence of Cyclophyllidean cestodes in humans. Now, this is the head you can see in the picture of the Taenia saginata, also known as beef tapeworm, unarmed tapeworm of man. It lives up to 10 years or more in the human intestine, and it measures about 5 to 10 meters, or it may be sometime up to 24 meters. There are certain characteristics of the proglottids of Taenia saginata. It is customary to differentiate it from the Taenia solium. It's very easy method to remember is that Taenia saginata is a beef tapeworm. Taenia solium is a pork tapeworm. Pork means swine, which is smaller than the cow. So smaller the host is, smaller is the parasite. Like that, the Taenia solium segments are smaller, broader, and less in length, while the Taenia saginata is longer. So you can very well remember from the size of the host, larger the host, longer is the proglottid. Also, the number of proglottids is more. It is 1,000 to 2,000 in Taenia saginata. It is lesser in solium. Further details are there, but uh, it is in a faster recapitulation. It is not. I am not going into the details. This is the Taenia saginata adult worm. The Taenia saginata egg, very sharp and very well defined parts of the egg. A brief summary of the life cycle of the Taenia saginata. The final host is man, intermediate host is cow or buffalo. The mode of infection is eating uncooked uh, or less cooked uh, beef, which is containing Cysticercus bovis. This kind of meat is is also known as measly meat, because like measles there are small many spots in the meat which can be visible to a person who knows about this. The pathogenicity is not much in with the Taenia saginata, but then occasionally obstruction may occur. Otherwise, non-specific abdominal vague symptoms are there. Treatment, diagnosis and treatment. Diagnosis is, you can very well imagine that the parasite is living in the intestine and passing the eggs. So finding of the characteristic egg in stool, the gravid segment is passed in the stool. So second structure which can be complained and collected by the patient and brought to the laboratory is the gravid phlogotids, which we can see in the slide and can differentiate whether it is saginata or solium. Then eggs can be recovered by concentration techniques also, or else you can go for perineal swab also. By these methods, we can go for the diagnosis. Treatment is by praziquintal 5 to 10 milligram per kg body weight as a single dose. Criteria for the cure is that there should be recovery of scolex, which is relatively little difficult to do, and negative stool examination for a consecutive examinations up to 3 months. Then the next Cyclophyllidean is Taenia solium, also known as pork tapeworm or the armed tapeworm of man. This is common. Teniasis, the disease caused by Taenia solium is known as teniasis and is common in those who eat raw or insufficiently cooked measly pork. As I said in my earlier slides, that measly means what? And it is relatively uncommon in the non-pork eaters. This is the head structure of the Taenia solium. You can see these four suckers, two visible and two on the other side. And there is an additional rostellum armed with double row of alternating large small hooklets. This is the characteristics difference between the two Taenia, solium and saginata. These rostellar hooklets are shaped like daggers or Arabian poniards. A sketch diagram of the head of the Taenia solium. Detailed sketch diagram of the head and the structure of the proglottids. The adult worm, though it lives longer, it is smaller in size, 2 to 3 meters in length. Less number of proglottids and the wider, and the branching of the uterus is also less in comparison to the saginata. The gravid proglottid may contain approximately 30 to 50,000 eggs when it is passed into the feces. Taenia solium egg looks similar to that of the saginata. Only thing is that it is infective to both man as well as pigs, while the saginata is infective to cattle only, not the man. And one is acid fast and one is not acid fast. Otherwise, they look very similar. Looking broadly at the life cycle, final host or definitive host is man, intermediate host is pig, mode of transmission is pork, and the diagnosis is stool examination for the eggs or proglottids, or accidentally we may get the whole worm. Pathogenicity due to adult worm is not very much. Obstruction is very unlikely. Common mild non-specific abdominal complaints only may be there. But then the larva, because the Cystocircus cellulosae or the larva of the Taenia solium may be primarily infecting the man through retrograde or the uh, fecal-oral route, or the proglottids may rupture in the in the anal canal, and then there may be retrograde infection that may lead to cysticercosis. Cysticercosis is infection with the Cysticercus cellulosae. The term can be applied to both bovis and solium, um, but the incidence is very, very low in the Cysticercus bovis. It is higher, much higher in Cysticercus cellulosae, and the larva of the Taenia solium can lodge into any tissue in the muscle, in the heart, in the lung, or in the brain. The most dangerous serious clinical problem is because of the Taenia solium larva lodging into the brain. And this is the most serious zoonotic disease. This is known as neurocysticercosis, which may culminate into many neurological symptoms. Diagnosis and treatment of Taenia solium infection. Diagnosis again is same, the recovery of the egg proglottids or scolex. Cysticercosis can be diagnosed by the non-invasive, the radiological techniques like CAT scan or MRI. The treatment remains the same, and the criteria for cure are recovery of the scolex or negative stool examination for 3 months periodically after treatment. This is the combined life cycle depiction of both the Taenia, solium as well as saginata. The difference is shown by the intermediate host, the cattle and the pig. This is the tabulated comparison between the saginata and solium. Then again, one of the most important tapeworm is Echinococcus granulosus, also popularly known as dog tapeworm, because the adult worm lives in the dog. It is very small. It is one of the small tapeworm also, and because its larvae in the humans produce hydrated worm, hydrated cyst, so it is also known as hydrated worm. So this larva in the human host can create a lot of problem many a times. In India, the incidence is quite high, and this needs to be very well known by a medical graduate. This is the picture of the adult dog tapeworm, 3 to 6 mm in length. This is quite small, because other tapeworm, which is also known as the dwarf tapeworm, is I think the larger, little larger than this, the Hymenolepis nana. But still, this is not, because this is not found in the man, so it is not referred in that way. Instead, it is referred with the hydrated disease. You can see from the diagram there is scolex, there is neck, and there is strobila. And in this strobila there are 3 or occasionally 4 segments are there. One is immature, one is mature, and the last is the gravid. Typical structure of the head of the Echinococcus granulosus: 4 suckers and a protubesival rostrum with 2 circular rows of hooks. One is smaller and the another is larger. Egg of the Echinococcus, similar to Taenia egg, maybe that it is little oval in shape, but this is not found in the human feces. It is found in the dog and the canine animal feces, and it is infective to man, cattle, and sheep and other herbivorous animals. The larva of the Echinococcus granulosus is found in the intermediate host inside the muscles and other organs. This represents the structure of scolex of the future adult worm, and young larvae are transformed into a hollow bladder. That is why the name hydrated means the drop of water. Hydrated means like of water. Brood capsules develop from the cyst and may contain thousands of scoleces, and upon entering the host, the scolex uh, with the or the rostrum with these 4 suckers become adult in the definitive host. This is the very good sketch of the life cycle of the Echinococcus granulosus. The dog and the sheep are shown as a representative, definitive, and intermediate host. The man is accidental host. Usually there is a cycle continues between the sheep and the dog, but then accidentally man is infected, and this infection is dead end. But whatever it is, even if it is a dead end, the man gets the trouble of hydrated cyst. That is why the disease is very common in the shepherd, where the sheep herds are there, also there, and there are dogs also with the herd, and the man, of course, is there. So that sheep shepherd common disease is hydrated cyst because of the Echinococcus granulosus. various hosts of the Echinococcus, definitive and the intermediate. Pathology in the case of the Echinococcus mainly is the development of the cyst. The condition is also known as echinococcosis. This is because of the larval cyst developing in the host, intermediate host, the sheep or accidentally the man. The most common site is liver and the next is lungs. Both these site cysts may rupture or break because of so many reasons, and then the fluid may release into the tissue, which is a cause of heavy allergic reaction. Cyst in the liver, scoliosis are seen inside the cyst. Cyst in the lung. Diagnosis of the hydrated disease can be done by radiography or the immunodiagnosis. Immunodiagnosis can be done by antigen detection or antibody detection by IHA, IFA or EIA. Surgical treatment is the choice of treatment but not always effective. Solicidal agents, Hibitane, 95% ethanol or hypertonic normal saline can be used, or pair technique can be used when the cyst is inoperable by puncturing, aspirating and injecting drug and respiration intervention are done. There are two Hymenolepis species, Hymenolepis nana and Hymenolepis diminuta. The hymen word has arisen from the membranous character of the eggshell, and there are three testes in each mature segment. The larval stage is called cysticercoid. Hymenolepis nana or H. nana, also known as dwarf tapeworm, smallest tapeworm infecting man. As I said earlier, the dog tapeworm is further smaller than this H. nana. It is found worldwide. It infects mainly the children, and this is the only human tapeworm that can complete its life cycle in a single host. And man can harbor both adult and larval stages of the parasite, and it gives rise to the exception of the general rule that helminths do not multiply inside the definitive host. You can see the adult worm of the Echinana. Some of the features are that it is found in the ileum. It has got a delicate strobila. The size is of 25 to 45 millimeter. It may be present in large number from 1000 to 8000 in the single host. It has got a short lifespan, about 2 weeks, and up to 200 proglottids are found. The uterus is transverse and there are 3 testes in it. The scolex of H. nana is subglobular. 4 suckers are there with a short retractile rostellum with a single row of 20 to 30 hooklets, and the rostellar hooklets are shaped like a tuning fork. Characteristic egg of the H. nana, the hymen or the transparent outer shell of the egg. This is the life cycle sketch diagram of the Hymenolepis nana. Both the adult and the eggs are shown both to exist in the man. Humans and rodents are infected when they ingest cysticercoid infected arthropod. Apart from the man, this cycle runs in the rats also. The mode of transmission of H. nana is through either direct or indirect pathway. Direct, it can be through from the egg which is hatching into the duodenum, or indirectly it is due to the accidental ingestion of the infected arthropod like the uh, rice and flour beetles, which contain cysticercoid larvae. The symptoms produced by Echinana are vague and non-specific, and eventually the infection is limited by the regulatory immunity. Diagnosis is by demonstration of the characteristics egg in the stool. Proglottids cannot be recovered because they degenerate prior to passage. Treatment is by praziquantel 25 mg per kg per body weight, single dose. In countries with warm temperature, it is common. It is quite common in the India also. Diminuta. It is also known as rat tapeworm. It is a common parasite of the rats and the mice. Humans are only accidentally infected. It differs from the H-Nana cycle and morphology because it requires the intermediate host. Two hosts are there. The larval stage is passed in fleas and the adult stage in rat, mice and accidentally in humans, especially in the children who accidentally ingest infected fleas. You can see the specimen of H. diminuta, and not only the egg is larger, the worm is also larger, and it can measure up to 60 centimeters in length. These collects have four suckers and unarmed rostellum. Four suckers and unarmed rostellum. Proglottids recovered from the laboratory rat, 800 to 1000 proglottids. Three spherical bodies visible are the testes, which are on the both sides of the ovaries. Ova of the H. diminuta larger than H. nana. The outer shell is little yellowish and there are no polar filaments. Cysticercoid of the H. diminuta. Life cycle of the H. diminuta. The flea and the rat and accidental man are the hosts. Non-specific minimal manifestation in the man, and the worm burden in the rodent is also low. Treatment is same, praziquantel per kg 25 milligram per kg 25 milligram per kg body weight. Dipylidium caninum, also known as double port dog tapeworm, rare accidental infection in the man. It's a common intestinal parasite of the dog, but since the dog is, pet dogs are living in the man, man is concerned with the infection with the dipylidium. The adult worm, the scolex front view, strobila, 200 some proglottids, mature proglottids, bilateral genital pores, gravid proglottid of the size of the pumpkin seed, actual proglottids, close up of the proglottid, hexacanth embryo containing egg of the Dipylidium caninum. Intermediate hosts are various fleas. Mostly single worm infection is there, rarely multiple. Symptoms are minimal with slight intestinal discomfort. Treatment is praziquantel, little less in dose, 5 to 10 milligram per kg body weight. It is more common in USA, Rhodesia, Argentina, China and Philippines, not found much in the India. This is the sketch of the life cycle of the D. caninum. Thank you very much for patiently listening the lecture. Thank you. Good day.